or your value system, all of a sudden, your media will lose the resonance with your readers. The reader, people read news. A lot of people think that news is intellectual. No. News is more emotional. When people read news, they relate the implication of the news into their life, into their community, into their emotion, the sentiment, the share value, all that. And that's why when we are in the media business, or especially in the newspaper business, we are not selling news per se. We are selling the resonance that people can relate to their life, their work, their community, the value system, the emotional implications, and all this. So when those media went into self-censorship, I could see that they're beginning to lose their readers, because the readers can no longer relate to them in the value resonance. So that's why we launched the newspaper, and we became an overnight success, just because people were confused. All of a sudden, somebody came out who didn't care about who didn't care about the takeover of the communists, who was not afraid about this or of the communist takeover and all that. People find some strength there. Seems to sound some crazy guy, but the crazy guy give me something to lean on. Everybody was so afraid. All of a sudden, there came out a crazy person who's not afraid. So that gave people something to lean on, something to relate to, and that was an opportunity we took that has really worked very well.
What do you see happening with the media in the PRC inside China? Do you see any? I was telling you last night that Li Da-tong, when he spoke to us, saw a few positive signs. I mean, I don't want to exaggerate, but he saw a few indications.
Well, I don't know what kind of positive sign he says.
It was mostly anecdotal. So yeah.
The Hu Jintao administration definitely, our government definitely, is to let loose those areas that they can let loose, and to tighten those areas that they have to tighten. So it's a loose and tight kind of policy, and I think this is the policy they are still following. Well, maybe in ways that approaching the Olympic, they are losing up some of the media area that I don't know. I just don't think that as long as the regime is still there, it's still a dictatorship, you can't expect the media freedom. Sometimes they lose it all, but when something happens, they just tighten it. So it's so erratic. A lot of people ask me, why do you go to China and have your newspaper? Anybody who asks me may come from the United Front people. I was even offered to have a newspaper in China as long as I don't do finance and news. So what do I do? Entertainment and sport and all that.
How long ago was that offer?
Well, that was like 2 years ago. There was offer, but
12 years ago?
No, 2 years.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
not that long
because
ago.
I would be stupid to become captive. If I'm a business in China, I'm a captive. The more successful I would be, the more captive I will be, because no, this is not something I'm going to consider.
You don't think you're going to be able to send a reporter up to cover the Olympics?
No, we are sending.
Really?
As a tourist.
Okay.
We're sending as a tourist,
right.
not as a.
None of this information will get to the Ministry of State Security.
No, they do. They do know that. Sometimes sometimes they arrest our reporter.
Yes.
Not to ask what you're doing in this country, but to update what Jimmy Lai is doing. What has he hired a new assistant? Why his new assistant is American? Mark Simon. Why he's American? Why a Chinese would have a higher American as assistant? Is he a CIA? You should know whether I'm a CIA. All that. So you just update the information. They just arrest them to update the information. But otherwise, they know that we are sending people there to cover.
Okay. We talked a little bit last night about the future of the media, which has also been a big subject in this conference. The emergence of web-based media, the fact that most newspapers now also have websites and have a lot of online media. What's your view of where that's going, and how do you feel about it?
Well, I definitely feel us media, especially the newspaper. Well, you say it's true with TV and radio. Let's talk about the newspaper first. I think we are under the threat of survival from the internet, definitely. We are having more and more people read our newspaper through on the internet. And if this is going to be a trend that goes on, we have less people buying our newspaper and more people read our newspaper on the net. We're in trouble because we don't have much advertising revenue from the online newspaper. We have all the money we make, we have to subsidize the online almost. We still make money, but it's more money. But if we don't have the normal newspaper, we can't afford to have the online newspaper because the online newspaper just use all the material that we spend on the normal newspaper, so they have it free. That's why they still make money. I think the so-called electronic newspaper that we are having now online is not the electronic newspaper that is going to be. Because you can't call a text newspaper which is delivered electronically online and call it an electronic newspaper. Because if we ask what is an electronic newspaper, the first thing we have to ask, what is the electronic generation? How the electronic generation growing up, assimilating news, information, all this, and knowledge. It's obvious to me the electronic generation is an image generation, because those people who belong to the electronic generation, they watch TV, they play games, they read cartoon growing up. They assimilate images in a very different way as we assimilate text. They can understand, they have a much greater, richer field of provisions of assimilating